How's it going, Marcus? You mentioned last week that all of the running backs kind of have their own little niche, their role, depending on if certain guys can't play in the first game. How much does that change your overall offensive game plan, knowing that this guy can't play, so I got to tailor it to this guy?
I don't think it'll change it much. I think that we have a bunch of guys on our team, not only running back but tight ends, receivers that can play multiple positions and do what multiple positions could do. So I don't think it's really going to change our plan of attack this early in the season.
Marcus Shea was in here yesterday talking about really wanting to see how that third-string quarterback position shakes out. How would you kind of evaluate the guys behind Spencer and Luke, and what have you seen from them over the last 2 or 3 weeks?
I mean, we've put them in very competitive situations because they're all very similar. They've all had their ups and downs. They've all had their days where you walk off the field thinking that guy's getting ready to take a jump, and then the next day somebody else does. So they're consistently competing, and I guess consistency is a weird word because they're up and down, but every day it's a consistent competition to see who can try to position themselves to be that third guy if it ever came to that.
Marcus, kind of to that, I guess when you've got, four guys basically competing for that spot, I guess how do you actually handle the practice of hey, we've decided this guy's going to be the guy here, this guy's going to be the guy there. I mean, what does that look like, I guess, in practice when you got to work through that with guys?
Some tough, honest conversations that are a lot, they're not always a lot of fun to have, but I mean, there's guys that go out there that know that you may not get a rep this week. Maybe another week before you get a rep. We're going to try to get these 2 or 3 guys, see what they can do out there. And there's not a lot of reps for a third-team quarterback, period, especially when you have 4 guys fighting for those positions. So you just try to be honest, even though honesty, you don't have to be mean. I learned that a long time. You don't have to be mean, but you have to be honest and let them know where they are and where they stand. So when they go out there, they're not shocked and surprised. But again, pleased with all, they're all young and all of them are, fighting to position themselves to play here in the future. And we're excited about all of them.
DeCarrion Joyner was in here yesterday saying he felt like you were more consistent and more efficient going through the fall camp. Do you think that's the case? And if so, what would you chalk that up to?
Can you ask that one more time? You said he's more consistent?
DK Joyner said he felt like the offense as a whole was more consistent and efficient going through camp. Was there anything you chalk that up to if you think that's the case?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's year 2, and I think anytime that you put an offense in, it takes a while to kind of take shape, especially with the different bodies playing quarterback. I think now that we've got consistency at the quarterback position, and then just being in the offense here in the verbiage. I mean, these kids have not had the same offensive coaches in consecutive years for like 4 years. So to have the same coaches for 2 consecutive years, I think is only going to help them feel more in balance with what we're doing on offense. But he is right. It has been way more consistent to this point.
When it comes to wide receiver rotation opening game, do you pick out your starters for your various formations and kind of lean on them throughout, or are you rolling them in and out just to kind of get a feel for how people are going to react on game days?
I mean, I think that our offense allows us to. I mean, you may be the starter, but you may be the starter and play 25 plays, and then you may not start and play 30 plays. So we have certain plays that certain routes that certain guys can do, and so we just format the personnel groupings to get them on the field. If we know what play we're going to call, and it's tagged with a little personnel grouping on the side of it. So when I go to call the play, I'm giving out the personnel grouping so the coaches know who to get out there. So the right people are running the right routes on that play. So we're able to be very multiple from that standpoint and get the right guys in position.
Marcus, how would you evaluate the offensive growth from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2, and what are some things you'd like to see get better as you go into this mock game week and into next week?
I think, like my man here, I'm sorry I don't know your name, but his question, I mean, I think that just the consistency and the tempo in which we played with in week 2, or scrimmage 2, we definitely improved. Situationally, we improved. They've done a nice job, especially our one group has done a nice job of taking care of the football and really not having a lot of penalties. So knock on wood, hope I didn't jinx myself there. But just the cleanliness, and then when it was time to take a shot, right? We're not doing anything detrimental to keep us from getting the ball off or making the play. Like sometimes last year we'd take a shot and turn somebody loose. So those things aren't as happening at this point. So I think that our kids have worked hard and they have a great understanding of how we're trying to attack, and it's showing.
Marcus, we've heard a lot about Marion Brown and kind of the steps he's taken over the offseason. I mean, is there something you've seen with him that's clicked? What's maybe different about him? Is it as simple as just being around another year? I mean, what do you feel like has kind of gone into that?
I think the confidence. I mean, as soon as you get a little bit of confidence, it's like a wildfire. It just takes off. I think how he prepared during the bowl week and then how he played in the bowl game carried over to the off season. I mean, he's always been a kid that knows every position is exactly where he needs to be. He's always on time. He's always doing things the right way. Super competitive, and that's what he does every day. If a route's supposed to be run at 10 yards, he runs it at 10 yards. If he's supposed to break in, he breaks in. If he catches the ball, he's catching it cleanly. He's super fast. Creates separation. So I think he's just worked himself into the role that he has on our offense now, which is a big one.
Where are you guys at as far as getting the game plan kind of honed down and figuring out what you want to carry into next week? Are you guys starting that process, or have you already started on
we
that
start
process?
like we started mock game week. We started watching film just like we would on Monday, just base downs and then third downs, and then we'll watch the red area today. So we have our ideas of, hey, here's 15 runs that we may take and passes that we may take into the game that we've been working. And today was third down. Like we had some third downs that we think we're going to take into the game that we start working. We don't really tell the guys as much like, hey, this is going to be good versus Georgia State because they play this defense. It's just really just for the consistency and getting those guys used to those positions and formations, just getting a head start on it.
Marcus, what's Trey Jones' role going to be this year? Will it, maybe be a little more than what he did last year, kind of that same fallback kind of role?
He's going to play, guard, and he's improved. And we've challenged him early last week. Just we're going to need you to play this year. I mean, I don't foresee him playing any fullback this year. I think he's just 100% be the best, guard that you can possibly be.
Marcus, first, I guess, who are your kind of options there at fullback if Trey's not going to do it for you?
I mean, we got some tight ends. Nate Atkins has flashed, since he's been here, and he kind of fits that role and can do those things.
I guess, and two, you mentioned kind of knowing when to take shots and being pleased with that. From now that you're kind of in year two, how confident are you that this offense can be a little bit more explosive in the pass game with the talent you've brought in with the returners, obviously, on the offensive line?
Super confident that we can be more explosive, and looking forward to watching those guys. I mean, it's fun to watch them compete for the play. They know, hey, we've got these 4 plays in, and they're all fighting like I'm the Z on that one or I'm the X on that one. So it's fun to just watch them, fight and compete and try to get those spots.
Couple of things on the offensive line. Greg Atkins said that he wanted to get more of a look at Tyshawn Wanamaker inside at guard than what he was able to do in the spring. Have y'all worked him in there some, and how's he looked? And also, I know he's battling for the right tackle job. How is that competition coming along?
Still competing. I think Dylan Wanham's done a really, really, really nice job getting back and getting in flow. I think Tyshawn's done a nice job of, he's not, I won't say charisma, but he's got just high energy. And when he's in the game, our guys feed off of how he plays, his physicality and his toughness. He looked really good inside. We've really the last week focused on just trying to keep him outside to be the best tackle he can possibly be. So, he's definitely going to have a role, whether he wins the job or not. He's going to have a role, and it's going to have to play really well for us to get to where we want to be.
I'm Alan, by the way.
Hey, Alan.
Going off that a little bit, Beamer was in here yesterday talking about how he felt like they had more guys this year who could play multiple spots on the offensive line. Have you seen that, and how do you feel about the flexibility of those guys kind of heading into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Rashawn Lee can play center, Eric Douglas can play guard, Jakai can play guard, he can play tackle, Jalen can play left tackle, he can play any spot inside other than center. Tyshawn can play guard, he can play tackle. So when you can do that, you can get your I'm going to make this up. This is not factual. Say you have 10 offensive linemen, and you have 8 of them, right? That are eight of the 10 of the best ones are multiple. So you can at least secure the fact that you're playing your best players. You don't just get locked into, well, this guy can only play tackle. He may not be as good as this guy, but he's a tackle. He can't play guard. So I think that's going to help us in the long run.
I guess now that it's almost a week away, how excited are you to get Spencer out onto an actual game field and see what he can do with the lights on?
Very excited. I'm excited just to watch our guys. I mean, they've worked really, really hard, and our coaches have worked really, really hard. I feel like offensively, a team, I'm speaking for the offense. I mean, Coach Beamer and what we've done with the team and everything, is, as you can see, social media and stuff is amazing. But just our staff, our players, the camaraderie, the trust, how in line we are is really cool. And anytime that you can feel that, it is exciting to get to go compete. And with some of the guys and the new guys we've added, it looks like it's going to be, a lot more fun this year than it was at times last year.
So Shane mentioned yesterday Juju's having a really good camp so far. Just what have you seen from him? And I think he kind of lobbied you to play some center. Is that in the cards this year?
Who's that? Juju. Oh, no. Juju is just Juju. He's doing the same stuff he always does. He's tough as heck. And in his brain, he could run between the tackles 50 times a game. He's fearless, does a really nice job catching the ball, get the ball out on the perimeter. So, his role in this team is very, very valuable.
So as a play caller, offensive guy, how much do you think of your specialists and your special teams when you're going out there in the drives, in the heat of the moment, especially when might be this year where you're going to have a new place kicker and you haven't really seen him in action? How much does that influence saying, okay, I need to go for this 4th and short, maybe instead of turnover for a field goal?
Yeah, and Coach Beamer is really one of the best I've been around to just communication throughout the drive. It may be, 1st and 10, ball in the +40, and I call the play in, and we're getting lined up, and he's like, "Hey, Sat, listen, if we're not past the 20 here, we're going for it." So even on 2nd down, then I can start to plan our plan of attack. So he does a really nice job of communicating. Obviously, lose our kickers, yes, from last year. He was automatic. Have all the trust in the world in our guys this year. They're doing a heck of a job. And the pressure kicks we give them at the end of practice, people squirting water on them and spitting on them and kicking them, and they're still – I'm joking. But they're still making the kick. So, whatever coach says, we'll do. Thank you, guys.